I'm feeling my outfit tonight. Came together so cutely. How's it? Oh, my necklace is crooked, acting up. How's everyone doing? Welcome to Legendary Talks. We have the amazing DJ Cassidy tonight. Can't wait to talk to him. I am going to chat with him about his Pass the Mic platform, which is amazing. And we will be talking with him momentarily. Thank you everyone for joining. This is Legendary Talks episode 103. Can't believe I've done 100 already. And we're about to talk to legendary DJ Cassidy. What's up, LaPo? Legendary Eric LaPo just joined. How you feeling, oh, what's up? Crystal. Nice to see you. We have Cassidy on tonight. And then we have a great week. Hey, Sarah. We have a great week lined up for next week as well. I am looking forward to... Hey, Erica. I'm looking forward to doing 200 episodes. That's my next goal. Hey, Claudine. What's going on? How's everyone doing? What are you guys drinking tonight? I have vodka and tonic again. What should we make our drinking word? Cassidy doesn't drink, but... Hey, Naomi. What should we make our drinking word tonight? What do you guys want to make it? I think we could make it... What's something we'd say a lot? Hip-hop, maybe? DJ... you guys choose the word. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to let him... You guys choose options. I'm going to let him choose the word. But so, yeah. We've talked about DJ, maybe old school hip-hop. Microphone. I don't know. Yeah. She said no Trump. Yes, that's a good one. Party. Party's a good one. I assume we'll say party a million times. Dance. That's good. Those are good. Party and dance. Legend. Ooh, that's a good one. I kind of like that one because of many reasons. Yeah, party is a good one, I think. Let's see. I'm going to have him choose. But he doesn't drink, so it'll just be me. Getting tipsy. What's up, Josie? Waiting for the legendary DJ Cassidy to join us. He's doing some really great stuff, and I can't wait to talk to him about it. But just talk, we're old friends, and he's done some great stuff over the years in general, so I want to chat about all that. He is the only person I've had on here twice. I had DJ MOS, was my first guest, and then I had him again, and then I've had Cassidy after his first Pass the Mic. We did one. So this is our second annual recap of Pass the Mic. He just got on. Cass, you want me to request you, or are you going to request me? Let me see. Yeah, I think we do our annual recap of Pass the Mic. Legendary DJ Cassidy. Yeah, my necklace is not straight. I can't wait to see what his background is the last time he was at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I'm sure he's somewhere weird and amazing. He's a special guy. Taking his own time to join, I see. What are the drinking words? Dance, legend, and party. Right? The three options. There we go. What up?
What up?
We, in a weird way, we kind of match,
I think we always match.
It's like hat, sunglasses, color.
Match doesn't just mean color and pattern. It means vibe.
You're right. We yin-yang each other. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Great. I just realized that you're the only person I've had twice on the show besides DJ MOS, but this is our annual recap of Pass the Mic. So
I love it. I literally, the second I posted the promotional art for Volume 3, I don't know who wrote each other first, but it was already in my head, like, we need to do it again.
Yeah, I think we should do it always. We'll do a recap.
the last time we did this, my Wi-Fi went out that morning. This was the night before Pass the Mic 2. I was like besides myself. So I rode my bike to the Beverly Hills Hotel and parked outside front.
I remember it all. I remember it. I'm glad you're in your own home and comfortable.
Can you hear and see me okay?
Yeah, perfect. So we have a drinking word here on Legendary Talks. I know you don't drink, but I always let the guests choose the word. So the three options that the viewers came up with was dance, legend, and party. Which word should be the drinking word?
Oh, wait, sorry if I'm like leaning forward. I'm adjusting the camera. Drinking word out of those, I would say for this episode, the drinking word should be legend or legendary, or it should be both, either.
Okay. You always get to choose. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple questions I asked you the other time in case people are on here for the first time and don't really know you that well. Please describe yourself. You did such a great job the other time.
Is this how you start every one of these?
No, just answer the question. Don't ask me. I'm asking you the questions. Remember that.
But it was a pre-question to the question. Do you start every one of these with asking people to describe themselves?
I ask a lot of people to describe themselves because it breaks the tension really quickly. People that are a little nervous, as soon as they have to, that's a hard question. So after they answer the question, they're much more loosened up. So I like to start with a hard question. So to loosen people up, basically. So
I am a lifelong student and purveyor of music.
Okay, good answer. That's not the answer.
Just one in a sentence.
It's great. It's perfect. Okay. And then, who have been some of the major cultural influences on your entire life?
Run DMC.
Yeah.
Run DMC.
Yeah.
Russell Simmons.
Yep.
Andre Harrell.
Mm-hmm.
Fab Five Freddy.
Yep.
And the Golden Girls.
Listen, 3 out of 5 are mine as well. You do math. Golden Girls and Fab Five Freddy are legend.
Legends. So
yeah,
what all those people have in common is they're fly, and they defined eras of culture. Run DMC, Russell Simmons, Andre Harrell, and Fab Five Freddy, all very interconnected and related in many ways, all came onto the New York City scene. And when I say scene, I mean music scene, I mean nightlife scene, I mean cultural scene. They all came onto the scene in the very early 80s. And I feel not only profoundly affected my life, I was a baby, obviously, but profoundly affected who I was to become. And I feel they profoundly affected a cultural shift that is still influencing people to this day.
Yeah, we still feel that what they did in the 80s, we're still feeling now. You mean, do you know Fab Five Freddy?
I do. So I've known Fab Five Freddy for years, but not well. I know more about him than he ever knew about me, obviously. Yeah. And after Pass the Mic 1, I believe he reached out to me on Instagram to tell me that he loved it. And I was very honored to receive the message. And I reached back out to him. And this happened after 2 and after 3. And over the course of, I guess, 2020, we've had a handful of very long, very in-depth, incredible conversations that I always wished were recorded. So I got a phone call about a month ago from someone who said he got my number actually through Kamala Harris.
Yep.
So he works very closely with her. I've done a bunch of things for her campaign. I think we touched on some of that on our last Instagram. And he said that he's recruiting the talents for the Mondo Music Technology Conference, which is an annual thing in New York. I'd never heard of it, looked it up, turned out to be this incredible thing that happens every year, obviously happening online this year. Yeah. And they said, we absolutely love Pass the Mic, and we want you to be a featured panelist and talk about Pass the Mic, where it came from, what inspired you, and how it all relates to the themes of music and technology, which are their normal themes, but this year, obviously, a whole different can of worms.
Well, yeah, we're living in a very extremely musical, technologically, interesting world right now, so.
Right. The two have never combined in such exciting ways, or they
well,
have,
no,
but this is
we have no alternative. Sorry to cut you off. We have no alternative right now at the moment, so like that's all we have. So we're all getting really creative with it, or you are, and lots of people are. You mean so?
Right, for sure, lots of people. So this guy Joel asked me who I had in mind or who I could think of that would be an interesting person to interact with for an hour about music and technology. And I said Fab Five Freddy.
Yeah.
So last week we recorded this 2-hour conversation, which they were only able to air 1 hour of. So we had this incredible 2-hour conversation. And one thing people might not know about Fab Five Freddy, I think this will really intrigue you, is that he is more in tune with present day technology than most anyone I know, particularly young kids I know who you'd think would be like at the forefront, right? Because they're 21 and it's their generation. But no, I mean, Fab Five Freddy is so in tune with what's happening on Twitch and Clubhouse and other apps that have communities. Yeah. And I'm just going to tell you one thing, because I know we have a lot we want to cover. He tells me that he goes onto Twitch on an average night and hops from DJ room to DJ room, and not well-known DJs he knows. Yeah. And I found that to be so fascinating. And I said, have you always been that guy? He said, always. I was always the guy. 70s, 80s, 90s, walked into a party, looked for the DJ, and that was where I wanted to be. I wanted to see who it was, what his flavor was. And he's literally doing what he did in 1980, finding Grandmaster Flash at a block party in the Bronx. He's literally doing that on Twitch.
That's amazing. Well, I love him. First of all, I think the reason that he probably likes you or someone like me is because I think he sees himself in us, in the fact that, like, what he was in the 80s, let's say, we are now. And I think he recognizes that, and he's been very generous and hosted some things for me and done some things that were, and just did them purely because I think he thought that he, I think, was like behind what I was doing. He wanted to support what I was doing in a true way. And I think he's such a cool, genuinely authentic guy, and he's a total legend, obviously. I love him.
And just for people watching, obviously we could do a whole talk about him, and you should have him on. Have you had him on?
No, we've talked about it. We can't get our schedules together. I'll have him on, though.
But just for people watching, I just want to give the 30-second. Amongst 100 other things that I'm not going to mention, amongst being the co-creator and first host of Yo MTV Raps that brought hip-hop into living rooms around the world, he was really the guy that brought hip-hop from the South Bronx to downtown New York. He brought graffiti artists to the galleries of Soho. He brought Grandmaster Flash to the nightclubs in the Village. And through this, he created this intersection of punk rock and hip hop, of graffiti and high-end art. And he really is responsible for what became the global hip hop, world renaissance.
Well, he was bringing Debbie Harry, Blondie, and David Bowie and things up to the Bronx as well. He was going, bringing the downtown people uptown and the uptown people downtown. He told me a great story that he brought Keith Haring to the Paradise Garage. Keith had never been there, and he had been there maybe like 2 or 3 times, and he brought Keith. He's like, Keith, you're going to love it. And it was really hard to get in, and you had to be a member and all these things, so he had kind of like navigated how to get in. And Keith was like becoming pretty famous at that moment, and he took him to meet Larry Levan, and they became, like soon best friends. And he went the next week, and Keith was in the DJ booth with him, and like they didn't know him anymore. Like Fab Five Freddy was like, not in the VIP or anything. Keith was like all in the VIP with Larry the Van. He's like, I brought you here, hello. But I think he's that guy. He's always been that guy that's been, you know, really, really in tune with everything and kind of celebrating it with everybody and showing people around always. So
what's so interesting, I think, and you can relate, and I think this is interesting for us to talk about. I didn't have intention of talking about this. Is that, you know, you and I, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I can speak for us. You know, we revere, you know, Warhol, Basquiat, Grandmaster Flash, you know, Debbie Harry, and all these figures that were such a part of the New York scene that became global icons. And to him, this is real life.
You're
These
right.
are not
right.
people in a coffee table book. You know,
Right.
These are real young kids that he introduced to each other. And no matter how many times I talk about it with him, that never becomes less fascinating.
You're right. I never thought of that. That was like we're kind of like, I've read so much about that time. I'm obsessed with that time, obviously. And, you know, like Madonna, he sent me pictures of his personal pictures he had of Madonna from one party one night that he's never shown anyone, he'd never published everything. He's like, I knew you'd love these, which I do. But, you know, it was his regular life. But I will say this. I spoke on a panel at the downtown MoMA about 5 years ago. And there was these two older women that had documented Danceteria and made this documentary about it. And so I was there to represent kind of like the more modern time. And so, you know, they were a little, I would say jaded is the right word, a little jaded, you know, or bitter or something. And so I said, you know, I'm obsessed with that time, that, you know, that I, you know, look at all the books, all the photos, I'm obsessed with it. And, you know, it seems so amazing. And they said, yes, our time is so much better than your time. And I said, well, you know, I said, your time is amazing and I'm obsessed with it, but looking at the photos, you know, it looks great in photos. And I said, yeah, but it was just better. Your time is no good and our time was great. And I said, well, actually, wait, let me think about this for a second. I said, my time in 20 years is going to look great in photos too. Lady Gaga performing at, you know, RDV for Me and Kiss and, you know, things like that is going to look amazing in photos in 20 years from now. And they said, no, it's not. Our time was better. I'm like, well, I don't know. So my thing is just to only like, you know, kind of add to your point is that, you know, our time may look great for people in 20 years. You see what I'm saying?
I think you're making an incredible point and an interesting observation that is not made often enough. Yeah. And I think my explanation of that exchange is that you often don't realize the golden eras until years after.
Yeah.
I don't think in 85, 6, 7, 8, 9, rappers were like, this is the golden age. No, yeah. It became that. It became an era in retrospect.
Yeah.
And I think the years that you and I have been a part of the scene, you a few more years than me, I think will be revered in ways we probably cannot yet explain. And I do think there is one difference between those days. I think there are many differences, but one difference I was going to name, which is I think regulation has changed. I think New York was less regulated. There was less, you know, tape. What do they call it? Yellow tape. There was less. There was less global connectivity. True. There was less technology. So when you had to experience things, when you had to be there to experience it, it does add something special. It's why some artists say no phones at the concert now, because when everyone can look, there's a beauty in everyone sharing it. But there's also something that's not beautiful about everyone sharing it. And there's something very beautiful about having to be there to experience it. And that's what that era has that we, for the most part, have not had.
I absolutely agree. You had to be there to experience it. Where now you can look at my Instagram stories and feel like you're there, you know. But also, I think that in New York during that time, I always say it was dangerous and desperate, and that added to all the creativity that was coming out during that time. And I think there was a much more like do or die sense back then, and that really fueled it all, I think, too. So, I mean,
exactly, I agree.
Not the conversation I thought we were going to talk about Fat Fry Freddy for 30 minutes. Not mad, but just saying. No, let's refresh people on how we met, you and I.
Well, I'm skipping the first part of my life, but age 10 to 18, I was a budding DJ. We can also come back to that if Damon wants. But around the age of 18, I finally broke out into real New York City nightlife parties. Through my high school years, I always wanted to be in the real scene. I was kind of in just the high school scene, doing whatever I could. And one thing leads to the next. And again, happy to come back to what those things were. But I end up finally in the real mix. And I get some very cool gigs the summers of when I was 18 and 19 years old. And one instrumental figure in that was a man by the name of Johnny Lennon, who's still very much on the scene, New York nightlife legendary figure.
Gold Bar.
Yes, he owns Gold Bar in New York, but this was years before Gold Bar. And John Lennon hired me for this party at this club called Centrofly. Centrofly was on 21st Street, which was the poppin' street for many clubs.
Yeah, Cheetah, Justin's both on the same street.
Yes, Cheetah, which you know of from all the songs that mention Cheetah, Jay-Z, etc.
I did the door there. I did the door there for many years.
And of course, Justin's, which was Puffy's, famous soul food restaurant. And there were two door people at my night at Centrofly. One was a beautiful woman by the name of Allison Melnick, who's also still very much on the nightlife scene here in LA.
Yep.
And she's a queen of it.
Love her.
And the other person was Damon. This was before the legendary. He was legendary. He just wasn't calling himself legendary yet.
That's a great way to describe it. People say, when did you become legendary? I said, I've always been legendary. I started calling myself legendary in the 2000s.
I couldn't agree more. And so, at the time, I felt very young, and I looked up to all you guys as the adults, the people who knew the right way. And I would bring my 8 crates of records to the door and carry them in one at a time. If I was lucky, maybe a security guard helped me in. And that Wednesday night really was the very much of the beginning of the next chapter.
Yeah. And you and I just kind of clicked. Yeah, we instantly clicked. I liked you from the first time I met you. And then also, I remember, and I asked you this last time too, and I was getting confused. Your Halo party was after, right?
Yeah, so what Damon's referring to was a Sunday night party at this place called Halo. Centrofly was a big club, but the room we did was like the VIP room. Small, but still big. Halo was 150 people in this basement in the West Village, but really became a place for Damon Dash, Puffy, Lenny Kravitz, and other just similar iconic people. And it was really kind of like I guess the best way I could describe it, correct me if I'm wrong, but in retrospect, this was around the time D'Angelo's second album came out.
Yeah, that's
and whatever he represented, this was the party that represents what he represented.
Listen, I know exactly what you mean. That's kind of an interesting way of describing it, but yes, very clear. Well, I described Lotus, which was right around the same time as, like a music video come to life. So Halo was similar to that. But my point that I'm bringing up Halo is because that's when I really remember saying, wow, he's a really great DJ. Like, I really got into you as a DJ at Halo. I think you were, probably 19 or 20 at the time, and really being like, he is a great DJ. And I remember, that's where I kind of remember getting to know you as a DJ. I already knew you as a person. I really got to know you as a DJ at Halo.
There was one other place around the time of Centrify, and it was called Float, also a big mass club, but I did a VIP room, also with John Lennon. And then the third real place was Halo, and this was where I really made a name. This was a 2-year span, every Sunday, no other DJs, from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., all me. Yep. And I got to play real cool music. I got to be diverse, eclectic, be really cool. It was the first time I got, I could really just play what I thought was cool shit. And it was the first time people came up to the DJ booth and said, yo, you're going to stick out. You're gonna be something special. And I really remember who those people were. And that's my favorite party I've ever done. Yeah,
no, I love that party as well. And then we started doing Lotus maybe like a year after Halo, right?
I think almost more. I think it was closer to 1.5 years, 2 years. And, look, after 2 years, a party starts to wind down in its intensity, and you took over Sunday night, and we eventually stopped.
Sorry about that. So what are some of your career highlights? Just a few. Besides you, obviously.
look, I know we talked about this one last time. I'll elaborate if anyone wants me to, but in short, I was the first DJ to ever play a presidential inauguration. I was the first DJ to ever play at the White House. I was the first DJ to ever play a Democratic National Convention. When Obama threw a party on his inaugural nights at the White House after the convention centers, I did both. When he threw his 50th birthday at the White House, I did that. When the First Lady had a 50th birthday at the White House, I did that. And the list goes on. There were over a dozen. And I'm not saying it matter-of-factly on purpose. I'm trying to speed through it for the sake of time. But those were the greatest nights.
Facts only. You're just stating facts, you know, so.
Yep, facts. No commentary yet. But those were the greatest nights of my life. And, you know, there were many other highlights involving Puffy parties and Jay-Z and Beyonce parties and Met Gala parties. And Oprah opened a school in 2006 in South Africa, and suddenly I was in a room with Oprah, Nelson Mandela, Cicely Tyson, Sidney Poitier, Tina Turner, Ashford and Simpson, Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, Mary J. Blige. And I've been just so fortunate, privileged, blessed, all these words, to be present. Forget about being the main source of entertainment. Just to be present in those rooms are memories that I will never, ever take for granted and never, ever stop thinking about.
Amazing. Well, I always say that about myself. I say, just get me in the room and I'll be fine. I don't care, you know, if I'm sitting in the back or I'm someone's plus one, I don't care about any of that. Just get me in the room and then I will navigate myself. You know, I'm a big component of like, get me in the room, I'll be fine. I mean,
I actually couldn't agree more. It's never about where your seat is at the gala. It's about how you move in the room. And if anyone knows that, it's you, because I've never seen someone move quite like you. You're one of the king movers I've ever met.
Thank you. What a compliment. Okay, so let's talk about a little something called Pass the Mic.
Wait, before we do, I just want to say hello to DJ Webstar, old friend of mine. I love you, Webstar, and I think I saw Josie too. I love you, Josie. Josie used to get me into nightclubs.
Yep, he's on here.
He used to get me into nightclubs so long ago that I would call him from a payphone on the corner to come down.
Shout out to Josie. Josie, first of all, thank you, Josie, he's been watching so many of these. He's been so supportive. Josie, you're a kind human being. We love you. Okay, so Pass the Mic. I did tell you this last time, and I can't echo it enough. It's not my favorite thing on Instagram or on virtual during the pandemic. It's my favorite thing ever, virtually. So, you know, like 10 years ago, it would be my favorite thing, or in 10 years, it'll still be my favorite thing. You know, it's the most innovative, and it's just the most innovative, amazing, cool, creative, exciting thing I, have ever seen or something. So, this is the third one, and again, I did not do my show on Tuesday because every time you do it, you always do it on a day I have a show, and I don't do the show that day. So I didn't do the show on Tuesday because you were doing it, and I just think it's amazing to me. How did you come up with the idea? I don't think I asked you last time.
I just want to say hi to Claudine Joseph, who's on here too. Claudine, I love you to death.
Hi, Claudine. Claudine's another word. She's watched almost every single one of my episodes. Claudine's so supportive and amazing. And everyone.
Claudine lent the helping hand with Pass the Mic Volume 2, which I'll talk about. But your question was, how did I come up with it?
Yes, the initial idea.
So I'll give you the short version. I'll elaborate where you want. It was the end of April or the beginning of May.
Yep.
No one had yet gone to a restaurant. We were all still very much indoors.
Yep.
I was FaceTiming with Verdine White, who's a founding member of Earth, Wind & Fire.
Legendary Damon.
Epic star, Damon's fashion hero, right?
100%. Number one is Verdine. Number one. Best dressed man in show business is Verdine White.
So, and Verdine is a friend and mentor. I'm not saying it matter-of-factly. It continues to be surreal for me. Love him to death. We talk often. We go to dinner once every couple months, pre-pandemic. So I'm FaceTiming him. So picture, right? So you're him, I'm me, sitting here. Everyone's locked in. My Sonos is on, and that's the way of the world. Earth, Wind, and Fire comes on the Sonos. Hearts of fire, create love, desire. And I got a chill. And that song normally gives me a chill. But the world in flux, and seeing Verdine in his PJs on the couch and me in mine, and it's like, it was surreal. It was kind of a chilling moment. And I said to myself, how fortunate am I that I have relationships with so many of my musical heroes.
Yeah.
And I immediately had the idea. I said, maybe there's a way that I can give people this feeling that I have right now, the feeling of warmth and comfort, of connecting with a musical hero in an intimate way while listening to their music.
Yeah.
Not just a FaceTime where I bring people in, or a Zoom that people can come and watch us talk, while experiencing their music, one-on-one, intimate with a hero.
Yeah.
Thought of the name, passed the mic instantaneously, and I envisioned the whole thing instantaneously.
Wow.
And I went into action. And before we just go any further, I do want to cut you off. I want to say thank you for what you said, because what you said is a very strong statement. You said, this is not only your, favorite thing in the pandemic, your favorite streaming thing. You're like, it's my favorite thing that I've ever seen on the internet, or, however you phrased it. That's a very big compliment, whether you mean it that extreme or not. It is an extreme compliment. This was not a master plan. This was not a grand plan. This was a little passion project idea that somehow has really affected people. And these episodes take me quite a long time to create, and to know that people are feeling what you feel really means a lot.
Well, I mean it wholeheartedly. Like I have a lot of friends that maybe don't know you or aren't really familiar with even a lot of what you do, and I've told a lot of people to watch that, and they'll call me after, and they'll be as enthusiastic as I am when I call you after. I can't. The fact that the people that don't really know you that well are that excited just only proves how amazing a thing it is. Because they're watching it kind of with they don't know you or the artist per se. They're watching it very greenly, and so many of my friends have called me after, like so hyped after. And it's just it's exactly what you set out to do. It really resonates with people in an intimate, way. And everyone I know that watches it I'm always so hyped after I see it, And I love, and I tell you, and I've had a couple people that have worked on it with you, and I said, don't tell me anything, because I love the surprise factor. I love being surprised. I don't want to know anything about it.
Right. I don't. First of all, this is about to be fun, because we have not spoken since number 3, and we did this before the night before last time. So I wanted to call you because you texted me, and I was like, you know what? Let me wait, because it'll be fun to talk on Friday for the first time. I don't announce the artist at all, and I don't announce the genre or category of music before. Of course, a couple days, press gets a few names, and then if I do an interview, I say the category, but most people don't catch on to that press piece, and it's a surprise. I really don't promote it. I create artwork that basically says, I'm asking you to come based on the last one, because I'm not telling you what it is.
I love that you do that. I think it's brilliantly done that way. I don't think you should be saying, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I prefer it that way, and to me, it's much more exciting that way. So,
I'll tell you why, though, because look, promotionally, it would help me more to promote everyone who's on it. Mm-hmm. Here's the way I explain it. Could you imagine coming to see me DJ a 2-hour set? It could be a nightclub or a big high-profile party. Could you imagine coming to see me, and when you walk in, the door guy hands you a piece of paper that prints out the songs I'm going to play?
Yeah.
That would be boring and whack.
Yeah.
DJ is all about the element of surprise. All about the element of surprise. And what I'm doing, although not DJing in a normal sense, is still based on the foundation of DJ.
Well, what I call it, I have some friends that are not familiar with any of it. I keep introducing new people to it, and I say it's basically a 1-hour DJ set with every single artist singing their own song that he's spinning. So realistically, it's in a 1-hour DJ set. If you were spinning it in any club, it's just that every single artist is there singing the song along with your DJ set. That's a way I describe it to someone that's never seen it. So. Yeah.
And another thing, another element of it that I've tried to analyze why it's worked, because again, I really had no intention for it to work, this well, is that for those watching who have never seen it, I'd love you to watch it, but we'll explain a little. Every song's only on for about 90 seconds. It's a verse and a chorus. And so no matter how much I'm tempted to keep going, I never do. And so just when you're at the edge of your seat and you want more, it changes. So it's relentless. It never lets you breathe.
Yeah, good. Never gets boring, ever, I mean. Okay, so I want to talk about the most current one. First of all, what did you call the genre of music for that one? What was that?
So, I never use really simple phrases to describe these. Hip hop is a little easier. Hip hop of the 80s, early 90s, golden age, hip hop, classic hip hop. The way I describe this is really how I describe it, is the R&B of the late 1980s, early 1990s, in which hip hop transformed R&B, and in turn, R&B transformed pop. That's in one or two sentences how I define that era. Now, many people use the phrase New Jack Swing to define that time, and many of the artists and songs would be categorized as New Jack Swing, but some would not. But really, between 87 and 92, we experienced a very special time in music, particularly in R&B. And looking back, the way that I could analyze it, meaning, you know, journalists might say something else, all good, just from a kid who grew up in that era, hip hop, the sound of hip hop, the mechanisms of creating hip hop, the attitude, the fashion, the style, the flavor of hip hop really changed R&B. If you look at the artists and listen to the songs until 86, 87, and then 87 to the early 90s, you can see and hear this. And it was a very iconic time. And when I DJ'd endless amounts of parties all over the world, this category of music always rocks a dance floor. And even the ballads make people feel something special. It was an incredible time. So that's what I focused on for Volume 3.
Got it, because I was wondering what it was called, and we just got a lengthy explanation, so thank you.
I'm sorry it was so long, but I wanted
No, first of all, I'm a music nerd. You're a music nerd. I love that. I honestly could talk like this. I feel like we're having a phone conversation right now, you and I. I don't feel like we're on IG Live.
Is that bad or good?
Good. I mean, I could go on and I could listen forever and talk forever about music from 1989. We could do a 1 hour thing about music from 1989. So, do you want to hear my favorites, or do you want to tell me some of your highlights of that, or what?
Okay, so we, as I said to the people, after Volume 1 and 2, I spoke to that night, and you're one of a handful of people who I want to call after if you haven't called me, because your genuine energy, it soups me up. It gets me excited. It makes me know that it was good. It makes me know the work was worth the time. So I didn't call on purpose. Honestly, I would love to hear what you felt. I'd love to hear what you loved.
Well, something really interesting, which I forgot, and I don't know if I said this the first time either, in your Volume 1, you just DM'd me the night before, and you said, I think you might like this. That's all you said to me about the Pass the Mic Volume 1. And I remember thinking it's going to be a DJ set or something on Twitch, whatever. It's my friend Cassie. I'll support it. No big deal. Like, you basically, you're asking me to watch it. I'll watch it. Like, no big deal. It wasn't that serious. I thought it was going to be a regular DJ set, and I was watching the regular DJ set. I was working out. I was watching the regular DJ set, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, that first one blew my mind, as you know. Anyway, so third one. To me, my number one first of all, Shanice was amazing. I thought Shanice, because she hit that like Mariah Carey high note, and she just was so excited to be there. And I've seen her perform that song only a few times, I think, and I don't know, something about Shanice was really amazing to me. And then I liked, to me, the most obvious song to have on there was Velvet Devoid Poison, but that was also my favorite. Like, they were so into it, and, I could have told you're going to have that song. Like, that wasn't a surprise to me at all, but that was still, I love that song to this day. And the way they were so enthusiastically performing it, I think, that was my number one favorite, was Velvet Devoid. So I wouldn't think it was, but it was, And then Boyz II Men at the end was, like, actual perfection. Like, you couldn't have ended on a better song with them. Like, that was pure perfection. And then I think Portrait and Jade was on there, right? Jade? Yeah, Jade and Portrait were surprise ones, like, whoa, for me. What else was really, those are some highlights for me. What about you? I know it's so hard for you because you're so in it. But.
It's so hard. So just, the 30 seconds for people who are like, what are they talking about? it's 3 episodes of the show, Pass the Mic. This was volume 3. There were 23 songs in 35 minutes. And within 23 songs, there's 41 people because there's a lot of groups. So
I also like SWV. Sorry to cut you off. They were good too.
Right. So I can't pick favorites. I can only talk about whoever comes to mind. Boys to Men, when I initially called them, I wanted them to do Motown Philly.
Yep.
And Motown Philly fits sonically perfect with Poison.
Yep.
And Michael Bivins was the executive producer of that album. He discovered Boys to Men, signed them to Biv 10. Dallas Austin produced it. Mike talks on the record. It would have been perfect. But then I said to myself, what am I doing? I have an opportunity to have the most epic, iconic ending that I could ever have, really, on any volume.
It's true.
Like, I thought Hip Hop Hooray was the most epic, and then I was like, wait, I have to do End of the Road.
First of all, isn't that one of the most successful songs in music history too? Like, was it number 1 for like 20 weeks or something, right?
Yeah, like, I remember being in 6th grade and watching the MTV Pop Rock, not R&B, Pop Rock countdown, and it like never leaving.
Yep.
You know, it gives me chills. It has made me cry watching it. I spoke to Run from Run DMC last night, another person who I look forward to, for obvious reasons, talking to after. He supports me so beyond what he really should.
Yeah, amazing.
And he said to me, he's such a student. He's such a studier. He said to me, Cassidy, don't think I didn't realize how the last chorus of End of the Road, you left 8 bars for them to sing and said nothing. Then you gave your thank you shout outs for 16 bars and magically ended right at the last 8 bars so that they would have 1 complete round of a cappella of pure emotion. And I said, you noticed that? He goes, yeah, I noticed. And I know it wasn't a coincidence. I know you did it 100 times until you nailed the timing because it was too perfectly done. And he said it was the greatest ending I've ever seen. And literally it gave me chills. And hearing you talk about it, you know, same thing. So
it was pure perfection. I didn't see that one coming, to be honest. You know, like, you know, I can kind of have an idea of who's, you know, who I think is going to be on it. I did not see that one coming. And like I said, the timing of it, the ending could not have been better. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Starting and ending with Teddy Riley. I say ending because Boys to Men was like the finale. It wasn't like the last song. It was like an encore. Right.
Yeah.
So Keith Sweat set it off. Teddy was the last song of the show, and Teddy co-wrote and co-produced Make It Last Forever for Keith. And they were really, how I describe this transformation of R&B, they were at the beginning of that. They were...
Yep, you're right. They were leading it. They
were really the people that changed R&B. It became different. It became hip-hop attitude. The sound became different. The machines to make the music became different. It was Teddy Riley and Keith Sweat. So I'm not saying I designed that from the beginning, but when it beautifully falls into place like that, you know it's right. So Keith Sweat could have done I Want Her, which I love, party record, but to me, Make It Last had the emotion of the beginning.
Yeah.
And it made sense to me to have a Keith Teddy record at the beginning and a Teddy record at the end, and then the encore. So those two were very special to me. They were so important for this era that I would stop at nothing to get them. And they were the last 2 people I got.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Who was like extremely enthusiastic, like, yeah, I totally want to do it? Who was like really gung-ho from the beginning?
Look, I have to tell you, it's not an interesting answer because it's the answer is most people had seen 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And because of that, it was like cheating. I didn't have to pitch much anymore. And so, of course, I always start with the artists with whom I have relationships. But I will tell you, out of all 3 volumes, I had less relationships on volume 3.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else, and then happy to go back to what my highlights and, you know, stories were, because I could tell you stories for days. I did feel that the spirit of Andre Harrell was looking down on me. Andre Harrell, for those who are not familiar, Uptown Records, what Teddy was to this music, Andre was to it as a business.
Yep.
And Andre was very much he was the mogul that sculpted the New Jack Swing era and the hip hop soul era that came after it.
Yep, you're right.
And Andre passed away a few months ago. Not only a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, my best friend's cousin, O'Neal McKnight. And I do feel that when I reached out to artists I didn't know, I felt like not only speaking poetically, his spirit was watching, but I felt concretely that his cosign of me when he was alive was why some people took it seriously. They're like, oh, Cassidy, I know, you know, Andre. Yeah. His cosign of me for so many years, I did feel was looking down upon me. So I hope he's proud of it. That was another highlight to me of the whole thing.
Yes, for sure.
And, you know, you mentioned Portrait, right?
Yeah.
Portrait had this hit record, Here We Go Again, massive platinum record. The lead singer of Portrait, Phil, left the group early on, like after the first album.
Yeah.
And I got on the phone with Michelangelo, who's kind of the founder of the group and was the producer of all the records. And I didn't know him. I was introduced to him. And since Phil left the group, they had a new lead singer come in who's been on the road with them for years when they do shows, which is not often. But because of what I was doing, and it's like all the first verses and lead singers, and he called Phil, and Phil did it. And that to me was very cool. And they were all on the screen together. And I thought it was just a very cool moment.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I don't know that backstory at all. And I felt something about that one felt really good too. It's interesting because, you know, I remember that one to me was kind of like, whoa. But there was something really special about that one too, now that you say it. I think you could feel that they were kind of like, you know, back together and they were feeling each other's vibe or something. You could tell. You mean?
Right. And I want to tell you one more. And again, I'll tell you about them all. But I want to tell you about one more. So I had never met Bow-Legged Lou of the group Full Force. Now, many people know Full Force as the bullies at House Party, the movie, Kid and Play, House Party 1 and 2. And they know Bow-Legged Lou as the guy who goes, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. But they were big R&B stars. And the three leads are brothers. And the other members are cousins.
Yeah.
So I was introduced to Bow-Legged Lou by DJ Chill Will of the Get Fresh crew, Dougie Fresh. And Will's been a huge help to me to introduce me to artists who I needed to meet. He introduced me to Lou simply because I wanted Full Force to do this record from House Party, Ain't My Type of Hype. It was the iconic scene in House Party.
Yep.
And Lou is the sweetest, warmest, gentlest, nicest, good-spirited person I have ever met in the music business. And we just formed the friendship, fell in love within the first 5 minutes of talking. And he really helped me reach out to 10 of the people.
Wow.
And he is so well loved that I told him, I said, Lou, don't pitch for me. I'll do the work. Just kind of connect.
Yeah.
He was so excited by the time I got on with someone, the work was done. And so the Full Force moment of three brothers and one cousin, and they're actors. So they're all acting, and the four of them together was so feel good to me. And then at the end, when I go, Lou, I'm trying to spread love, and some people just don't get it. And he goes, I'm going to kick their fucking ass.
So funny. That's amazing. I love these backstories. Wait, how much time do we have? So we only have 10 minutes left. I do want to talk about a couple other things, not Pass the Mic related. Wait, so I will say this, Pass the Mic still, that like Run DMC, I think it was Run DMC into Public Enemy into LL Cool J or something, that Pass the Mic 2, wasn't that the first three? And
it was Run to D to LL to Chuck.
That was like, that to me, I think I was losing, I think my head was exploding, and it, like, you know, and you know all those people, you're friends with all of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, except for Chuck. Volume 2, the beginning of Volume 2 was audacious. I mean, I'm just going to be honest.
It was insane to me, and I remember, like, it was, because it was just like, it was like, actually it started up here, it just stayed there the whole time. It was amazing.
It was, I'll be real, it was almost obnoxious. Shout out to Claudine.
Sure.
Who helped me with LL and Rock the Bells, that was a part of it.
And then the interview, sorry to cut you off too, the interview you did it right after, and it was LL and you, and I enjoyed watching it so much because both of your enthusiasms and both of your appreciation of the authentic hip-hop thing. It was just so beautiful to see like both of you guys being so enthusiastic about it and so pure, having a really pure conversation. It was amazing. I love that
it too, and honestly, my enthusiasm was expected. It was cool, whatever. But to see LL being so genuinely enthusiastic, I mean, look, it's LL Cool J. Just like stop right there, okay? Like you have to like think of like 16-year-old LL Cool J signing to Def Jam and just creating like this whole business with like Russell and Run DMC and Beastie Boys. And he gets on Instagram like you get, you know, like just an everyday person, and his fans are coming in, and I get on, and he was so excited.
He was, yeah.
Like, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. And it's like, all he talked about was like who he saw, and he was like talking about it like a fan. And, you know, it was really as good as the actual show.
Well, yeah, like again, the enthusiasm and the genuine authenticity between the two of you was like infectious and amazing to watch. So just as a spectator of that post IG talk, you should have done it with me, but I understand why you did it with LL. I get it. So. Wait, I want to talk about Kamala a bit. So I don't want to get too political, but what?
I'll get political for you.
I know you will. I don't want to. You know, we don't have time for all that. Listen, everybody vote. Everybody vote for Biden. End of story. But have you guys become friends?
First of all, I just want to say, I like how you say vote for Biden. I'm seeing a lot of people who are like getting out the vote, but like, no, I'm about getting out the right vote.
Listen, I don't know if I want to speak to a human that's not voting the right way. You know,
I'm not bipartisan. There's no such thing as bipartisan anymore. We have a blatantly racist.
We're not going there. We're voting for Biden. You and I. Let's talk about. Are you friends with?
It's a given.
No. Are you guys friends? Did you become friends with her, or what's the relationship now?
Well, I'd like to use the word friend. I don't know if it's an overstatement. I campaigned for Kamala when she was running for president.
Yeah.
I performed at a handful of fundraisers and events for her.
Yep.
From the very first one, she was the warmest and sweetest person in political life ever.
Yeah.
I immediately felt a bond for her. I immediately loved her as a person. And that's not why you always vote for someone, but I immediately loved her as a person.
Yep.
And I believed in her run for president. About a month before she was picked by Biden for the vice presidency, she asked me to essentially produce an online event for her that would raise money for the Biden campaign, whether she was going to be vice president or not. It was still up in the air. And I, of course, said yes. The event that she wanted me to produce was a DJ, was a DJ-centric event for 3 hours. And what the event what the event became was an event with 6 DJs, all superstars, top at their game, in all different ways. So it was me, Jermaine Dupri, Diplo, D-Nice, Hannah Brothman, Beverly Bond, all known for different things, all do different things, play different things. And every 30 minutes, a different DJ came on, and she and I were kind of like co-hosts. So I set it off, she came on, talked, I played, and then she and I would come on every 30 minutes to bring on the next DJ. And in those moments, we would talk about the issues. And it was very fun, very uplifting, extremely informative. It raised $1 million.
Amazing.
And, you know, I use the word, you know, I'd like to say friends. I admire her. I love what she's doing. I'm an extreme supporter. And I will tell you, I was very taken back, extremely impressed, extremely touched that within that process, she called me 4 times. And it was like to go over it. To discuss it, to thank me. She called every one of the DJs to thank them. I sent her the numbers. It was very hands-on. She wasn't just throwing an event to raise money. She wanted the event to be uplifting.
Yep.
She wanted the event to be informative.
Yep.
She wanted the event to reach people that needed to be reached.
Yep.
And if I played a small part in that, I was very honored.
Amazing. I remember when that was happening. I remember thinking, number one, that's a great idea. The DJ lineup and her kind of like, you know, associating herself with you and them was really just a great idea. But that's amazing to hear that she was so hands-on and, you know, with texting and calling. You know, listen, she will run the country greatly.
She will.
I just want to commend you because I know that you have been very involved in that, and I really admire that about you, that you have been for a long time, not just in the past 6 months. For a really long time, you've been working with her and doing different things with her. So I admire that about you, and I appreciate that about you. So
thank you. I think we need to use what we have.
Yeah.
And what I have the most is this ability to play music, uplift people, spread the word. Of course, how we spread the word has totally changed in, the year of 2020. And props to her for reaching out and for being extremely innovative.
Yep, truly.
It's innovation.
But that's a prelude of what she will end up being, innovative. See what I'm saying?
For sure.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. I want to hear your Madonna story again, which I love. And then one more thing, too. I celebrated my 100th episode last Thursday, right?
I did. I sent you a little congrats video.
It's amazing, right? I'm shocked and excited, and I can't wait to do episode 200. But
it is out. Wait, I just want to say one thing about that. In 3 volumes of Pass the Mic, I have passed the mic to 93 artists. So I can relate to what it's like to sit somewhere 100 times, but not what it's like to do it on a consistent. I do it in chunks, and then I break in chunks. For you to do this almost every day is brilliant. You not only have developed a following, which is amazing, but that's in and of itself is not a goal, right? There needs to be the meat of the goal. The meat of the goal, I think, is to tell really cool, untold stories. And, we've heard Madonna be interviewed, right? We've heard big people like that be interviewed. We don't always hear the people behind the scene.
Absolutely.
And, and you really bring these people to light. And that to me is the most amazing thing about this series. I would love to see a reel, like a 15-minute reel of like the best, things. Thank you.
I call it the root of culture. It's the roots of the culture. The Jessica Rosenblums, the people like that, a lot of people don't really know, that like mainstream people don't really know about, but these people are so instrumental for these, like you're saying, Teddy Riley and them, they're so instrumental for the next decade of culture and things. And, so it really was based off of, I always said, you and I can tell stories back and forth for 10 years. It doesn't matter if we don't share them. So it's about sharing those stories that you're talking about, exactly.
I see MOS. I just want to say that I love MOS. I love what he's done, DJing every night, commitment.
Oh,
and I sign on some nights when I'm lying in bed. He plays the best music. But I also just want to thank MOS because he's a real supporter. He really supports what other people do. Every time I do an event, I see him right away, and I love him for that. He really spreads the love.
No, he is one of the most supportive people I've ever met, and he did a pre-party set for my 100th episode, which was amazing. And I said this many times, D-Nice and MOS have inspired me to do my show every freaking day. If they can do it, I can do it. I've been saying, we're all friends. If those two can do it, I can do it. And that's exactly what has motivated me to do 100.
Yeah.
All right, we have 2 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
Well, you wanted me to tell the Madonna story. I'll tell you about whatever you want.
Well, we have 2 minutes. Can you do it in 2 minutes?
Yeah, you want to tell the video story?
Yeah, just how she was, I love Madonna, how she was like, you're not wearing the right suit.
All right, I'm in the studio one day. I get a call from Mike Dean. Mike Dean, legendary producer, extremely well known for producing and playing with Kanye West. He's like OG, legend, icon. He calls me. He says, hey, are you available on such and such date? I was not available on this date, but I don't always get these calls from Mike Dean, so I lied. I was like, yeah, I'm available because I wanted to see what it was, He's like, Madonna's shooting a video for her new single. It's like disco flavor, and she needs a DJ to play that part in the party scene, which is like the whole video. And I told her to use you. She's on text with me right now being like, yo, do you have him? Like she's asking if you have me. I'm like, okay, I'm free. Somehow cancel whatever I had, and I never cancel things. And she sends her stylist screenshots of me from the internet. She like Googled me, tells her stylist, I want him to bring these 3 outfits. I bring the 3 outfits. I bring the straw boater and the felt boater, which is like the same shape, but it's like the white one for winter. I think I put on this one because it was like an 80-degree day, and I'm on set, and Madonna's like in the dressing room, and she's approving things, and the stylist sends a thing, and she goes, no, the other hat.
Exactly. I love her. That's my girl. First of all, I've never been jealous of you ever in your career. I would support you. I'm jealous of that moment, just so you know. Okay, so we have to go now. It'll hang up after an hour. So I want to thank you for doing this again. I think we should do an annual recap after every Pass the Mic. You know, at this show, we're celebrating people that have been important to culture. Your entire career has been important to culture. What you're doing right now is extremely important to culture. You are exactly what you're trying to do. You're uplifting and inspiring people. I have tons of friends that weren't familiar with it that call me. So excited how I call you. Very excited after. I don't have to tell you this, but keep doing exactly what you're doing. With purity and with authenticity and integrity. And at the end of the day, we're both music nerds, and we love this stuff. So just keep doing exactly what you're doing. And I thank you for doing this. I really do. I love you. You know that.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who watches you and is watching tonight. And Damon, please, when you can, if you haven't already, put together, short form episodes of highlights of all these, because I think it would be so fun for people to watch 5-10 minute episodes of me, MOS, D Nice, Jessica, all these different people, almost like having conversations with ourselves, highlights, because all of these 100 episodes have been so incredible. And now that you have these 100, it's like, it's just begun. The possibilities are so endless. I literally want to sit down and watch all 100.
I'm going to do that. You're right. All right. Well, thank you very much. You have a great weekend, and can't wait to see Pass the Mic Volume 4. I'm very excited. Don't tell me nothing. I want to see it, so.
Thank you. I love you to death.
All right. You too. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye, you too.